the station, Kentucky's conservative outpost. This is the only program in the state of Kentucky and the city of Louisville that deals with news and politics from a conservative perspective. And we're at the Kentucky State Fair again, and we've had a lot of good shows here and a lot of great guests.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really fun. There's a lot of energy here, and
Yes.
it's interesting because we're at the state fair just before the governor's election in the state in 2023. So there's both governors have their booths here. There's a lot of folks walking around. We've been able to talk to people about how they feel about each candidate, and so it's an interesting moment right now. And it's a pretty tight race, but I'm feeling really good about Cameron's chances. But another benefit of being at the state fair is we can bring in good guests. And so we brought in Shane Baker, who happened to be here. I think he was at the ham breakfast this morning.
Yes.
And I think he bidded it up there. It went to 10 million, but I think you were at 999.
I was at 50 cents.
50 cents. He stopped at 50 cents. Okay, that's good. But Shane he's a state representative from District 85, which is the Somerset and London area. Beautiful part of the state. Just love that area. And so it's bucolic, if that's a term that I like to use for the environment. It's a bucolic place to visit. So,
that's
Shane,
a big fancy word for me,
It is.
Tom.
It is. And you like that? Bucolic wilderness. It's beautiful.
I'm going to look it up when I leave.
it's just a beautiful place. The lake and everything.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So, Shane, let's talk about your thoughts on the race, on the governor's race. That's the news. That's that's what everybody wants to hear about. And so let's handicap it a bit. Obviously Cameron is running a strong race, but there's some messaging that I think needs to occur, or that probably is occurring, and it's on two sides. You've got Andy Beshear, who's taking credit for a lot of the success that has been going on in Kentucky economically.
Yes.
Right? There's been a lot of economic good news that's occurred in this state over the past few years, and in the past 4 years, that Andy is, rightfully, not rightfully, I guess good for him that he's taking credit for, but he shouldn't. He doesn't have the moral ground to do that. And so, because a lot of these initiatives were started by either the previous administration or the state legislature, or he was outright against a lot of this stuff. He vetoed a lot of these initiatives. And so Shane...
And Shane comes from a very interesting perspective because he actually sits on the Economic Development Committee.
That's right.
For the House of Representatives. So I'm really interested to hear your perspective.
Yeah.
Well, Kentucky was experiencing growth before Andy arrived, and the state has continued to grow. There have been a number of positive announcements, and things have been going generally well. But it's easy for him to take credit because he is the guy in that seat. He cuts the ribbons. He shows up at the events. But the reality is that he's in the right place at the right time. The Kentucky legislature in recent years, and including before I arrived, started passing more business-friendly legislation. And I heard many years ago a statement that stuck with me is capital goes where it is welcome. And we have created an economic environment with restructuring the tax base, eliminating the income tax. We're working to get to zero, and people are finding a way to bring their money here to invest, to put down roots, to grow their business, and to raise their family. And so it's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
But it's because of right-to-work legislation.
Right.
It's because of the repeal of the prevailing wage. It's because of the reduction and elimination of taxes.
Yeah.
And those are things done by the Kentucky legislature.
Yeah.
And on the tax front, Andy Beshear vetoed the bill to reduce the Kentucky income state tax.
Say that again one more time. I want our listeners to really hear what you just said.
So he has talked recently about reducing and eliminating taxes. That was passed by the Kentucky General Assembly. he vetoed the bill. So not only is he taking credit for something he did not do, he is taking credit for something that he adamantly opposed.
He actively fought against.
Yes.
And then takes
that
credit
is
for it.
correct.
Yeah.
And people don't know the truth on a lot of these issues. We often believe the things that we see or hear first, or we see and hear the most often. And he's really good with his messaging. He's putting it out there over and over and over. And people hear this so much, they think it must be true.
Right.
And there's no one out there telling people the truth. And I think that we deserve to be able to make that decision on the people that we choose to represent us in government, to be armed with the facts. Those are the facts. He stood against your tax cuts. He vetoed the bill, and now he's lying to your face and taking credit for it.
Unbelievable. And not just that, segueing over to some of the what I would call morality issues, you stood very strong. We're one of the tip of the spear guys on Senate Bill 150.
Yes.
At least you played a huge role on the House side with several of other colleagues.
And explain that what Senate Bill 150 was.
I'll let Shane explain that, because that was his baby.
Yeah. So Senate Bill 150 does a number of things. The big thing is it's trying to protect children from LGBT indoctrination. That's been taking place in schools for a number of years. That has not only grown, it's become a huge push. Right. Just yesterday, I received a few messages from people, and I went through it, and JCPS, Jefferson County Public Schools, they have 9 sessions for professional development for their teachers in the coming year to push LGBT stuff in the classroom. And so those are things that in the bill is actually illegal.
Okay.
So one of the things is gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation. By law, you can't teach on those things in the classroom. Andy
why would you want to teach that?
He vetoed that bill. And he talks a lot about economic development and jobs. Both are important. When people make decisions, they do what's best for their family. They want to have a roof over their head. They want food on the table.
Yes.
And they want shoes on their kids' feet. So these opportunities are very important. But you cannot hold down a job and be a productive member of society if you struggle with identity issues and mental health.
Exactly.
And so those are some of the things in protecting our children. It's important for the child's sake. That's enough for me.
That's right.
But if you look at the bigger picture, it affects all of society. Some people may think, well, I really don't care about that issue.
Yeah.
It matters if you want employees.
Yeah.
It matters if you want people in the healthcare industry, people in education, people in emergency services. We need people who are able to serve throughout our communities. And it's a vital thing that we protect the hearts and minds of our young people. But once again, that's something that he vetoed. And in that bill also was the gender transition surgery, making that illegal. And Andy Beshear said, he has an ad out. He said that I don't support gender transition surgeries for minors. He vetoed the bill that made it illegal.
Yes.
And once again, goes on and puts on a happy face and smiles and tell everyone that he doesn't support that, when in fact, that's who the guy is.
These are the things that have got to be getting out messaging-wise.
Right.
Because he's a governor that does not reflect the views, in my opinion, of the majority of Kentuckians.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Even the majority of Democrats, if you polled them, I don't think the majority of Democrats really line up with this. Yeah.
Especially on a lot of those issues. I mean, there are a lot of common sense Democrats out there that don't support these far
That's right.
left ideologies.
That's right.
We are here to defend democracy.
Misinformation poses a threat to our nation's health.
Climate change is an emergency.
Democratic socialism.
Codify one's right to choose.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
In the perfect scenario, people are working, they're taking care of their family, they're taking care of their business. They don't have to worry about what government does.
Right.
But you cannot always trust government.
No.
We know that.
That's right.
And so that may be a shocker to some people, but it's, we have to stay engaged and be aware of what's going on.
Right.
And, I just think people deserve to know the truth. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for opportunities to discuss this
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it makes me think of Ronald Reagan. The 9 words that anybody should fear
Yeah.
is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's I want to expand on the point you made. It's a very good thought that, obviously that there's a lot of people who have moral concerns and concerns about, if someone buys into the LGBT messaging, what it does to their lives personally, but there's also just a self-interest concern that we should have as Kentuckians, because we know that those ideologies are just not healthy for those people, and that translates into a weakened culture, a community fabric that starts to break down economically. If people are struggling, they're not going to be able to function well at work, and so it's. I think most people have that instinct. They understand that this whole LGBT movement, we're in this moment where it's like a social contagion. It's not just say, somebody was always this way, and they just need to be, need to be freed, and all these societal restrictions need to be released, and they'll be just normal people like they were born. No, this is stuff that people are sort of adopting because they're hearing this messaging, and then if they go to a school that sits there and teaches this stuff, that you can be a boy or a girl, it's up to you, whatever you want to. Those are thoughts that are foreign to the nature of human beings, and it doesn't allow the human being to flourish, and it affects things on so many levels, and I think the average person, left or right, senses that on a real deep
Yes.
level. If you live longer than 20 years on this earth, I think you sense that, this is not the way things used to be, and things before, the way we view things in the past, maybe a little more right than what we're doing now. So that's such a huge issue, and I hope that the messaging of that it translates well to the average voter, because I think a lot of people in this moment are now paying attention to this stuff. It's like there's a moment in our culture where we've sort of woken up. Not to say us who are politically engaged and active, we've been dealing with this for 20 some years. But the average Bud Light drinker, right? The average person that goes to Target, they're starting to see this now. They're starting to. The average person that goes to Disney World they're starting to see that. Hold on, the culture is going the wrong direction, and these people are pushing it. And I guess I need to say something too. I need to stand up. Well, here's a way to say something. Let's vote for the right people. Let's get behind the right people
Yes.
that reflect the worldview that you have. And so, God bless Shane and the Kentucky legislature, and the Republicans in the Kentucky legislature, and God bless Daniel Cameron. And let's get him elected, and let's make a change. Let's let Kentucky be that line. We draw the line for our children.
I think something very simple from a messaging standpoint. The question that needs to be asked is, are you better off today
Yeah.
than you were 4 years ago?
Yes.
Are you and your family better off? Not just financially, but politically, morally, what you see going on in the culture looking at the crime issues that are happening, are you better off? And I think if you look at that honestly, I think most people, I'd say probably 80 or 90% are going to say, no, I'm not.
Except economically, right? But the economically they may be, but that's because of the Republican efforts in this state.
Well,
that needs to be
at least on the state level. But,
yeah.
Looking at the big picture as well, we're all struggling because of the inflation induced by the spending spree on water.
And that's the point I'm getting at. We know the state's doing better economically.
Right.
But what you're saying, go ahead. I'm sorry.
As far as business.
Yes.
But you look at mom and pop, when they look at the end of the week, how much money they have left. I mean, the prices of everything have increased because of inflation.
It's nuts.
Right. And it's become very difficult.
We are here to defend democracy.
Misinformation poses a threat to our nation's health.
Climate change is an emergency.
Democratic socialism.
Codify women's right to choose.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
At least on the state level. But, looking at the big picture as well, we're all struggling because of the inflation induced by the spending spree on water.
And that's the point I'm getting at. We know the state's doing better economically.
Right.
But what you're saying, go ahead. I'm sorry.
As far as business.
Yes.
But you look at mom and pop, when they look at the end of the week, how much money they have left. I mean, the prices of everything have increased because of inflation.
It's nuts.
Right. And it's become very difficult. It's put a lot of pressure on mom and dad. And, all those things have consequences. The family dynamic, how that plays out with children, and the struggles that may come along with that. But these are things that are part of the Biden administration. Those people that Andy has aligned himself with.
Right.
And, we cannot allow this to continue on and turn a blind eye.
Right.
We have to wake up and realize who he really is and what he has really done. I would ask this question, and honestly, I would love for anyone to call me and tell me 3 good things that he has done since he's been in office. I've asked the question to a number of people that told me that they really like him, but they can't tell me 3 good things that he's done, because most of the things that come up are things that someone else has done.
That's right.
That he has taken credit for.
Very good.
Right. And something that he probably could take credit for, and he's probably proud of, is how he behaved during COVID, during the lockdown. And so, we talked about inflation.
Yes.
We talked about how our economy is suffering nationally. Well, a lot of it's because of these bad policies that we push nationally, but then our states, some of our states, really went too far with that. They went overboard, and I think our state is an example. We encourage our lockdown to go too long, and that impacts businesses, which triggers the inflation problem. And you want to speak to that, or?
And honestly, it made people dependent once again on government. You had those stimulus checks, and a lot of people came to depend on this pandemic unemployment.
That's right, this unemployment.
And rather than get back in the workforce.
That's right.
But remember, who shut the church down?
That's right.
Who sent the state troopers out to take down license plates of people who went to worship?
That's right.
A right that we have guaranteed under the Constitution. He violated that right, a right that he swore to uphold and defend, and he broke it.
Right.
And who
shut
took
down
him
the
to court
schools?
on that too?
Daniel Cameron.
Daniel Cameron.
And
That's right.
won.
That's right.
I used to think that when Andy Beshear was the Attorney General, I used to think, here's the supreme law enforcement officer in the state who sued Matt Bevin over and over and lost. And now he's the governor who himself gets sued over and over, and he generally loses.
Yeah.
And I thought, he must not know the law very well.
That's right. Exactly.
I was wrong. Here's my honest opinion on Andy Beshear. I think he is a very smart individual when it comes to politics, and he just does not care what the law says. He will violate it. He will do what he wants to do regardless of the law and let it work its way out in court. And as the process works its way out, the damage has already been done. He shut down the schools, and look at the learning loss that we have. Look at the children who are struggling, the number of kids who cannot read. And if we want to talk about what's really important, it's the lifetimes of these young people. And they have been damaged severely, emotionally and academically. Who did that? Andy Beshear.
Beshear. That's right. That's right. Well, that's very well said. Well, we have a chance, Kentucky voters, to make a real difference here and put somebody in office that really has proven that he's been a strong advocate for your values and for Kentucky values. And we just encourage you to get out and vote Daniel Cameron. And we want to thank Shane Baker for being on the program. And so, what's your favorite thing to do at the fair, Shane? What do you enjoy here?
There are several ice cream options.
Yeah,
so now I have 45 minutes till my committee meeting, and I'm going to make an ice cream selection.
There you go. That's right. Yeah, this one at the end of our row is really good. I'm going to warn you about that.
And I'm not going to ask which one because we don't want to offend anybody, but
It's going to be chocolate. So I cannot tell you who's making it, but and we may try a couple.
Well, thanks for being on the show, and thanks for tuning in today. You're watching the station, Kentucky's Conservative Outpost. We'll see you next week.
Thank you,
guys. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit hay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't this shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, 'cause the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that what you do, cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, cause the rich men, north of rich men. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullish pay.
We are here to defend democracy.
Misinformation poses a threat to our nation's health.
Climate change is an emergency.
Democratic socialism.
Codify everyone's right to choose.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15